ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੋਣ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਨੇਤਾ ਸਟੀਵਨ ਡੇਲ ਡੂਕਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਈਟੋਬੈਕੋ 'ਚ ਇੱਕ ਘੋਸ਼ਣਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੀ ਇਮਾਰਤ ਅਤੇ ਮੁਰੰਮਤ 'ਚ $10 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਵਾਧੂ ਨਿਵੇਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸਟੀਫਨ ਡੇਲ ਡੂਕਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ।
All of it so brutally difficult on Ontario families, on our kids, on their moms and dads, and on frontline education workers. So let's talk about the choice for just a quick moment. We know that Doug Ford has spent the last couple of years going all around the GTHA and beyond and bragging about how he's determined to build Highway 413. Let me talk for just a moment about Highway 413. As a former Minister of Transportation, the minister who stopped that reckless and unnecessary highway the first time, I can tell you that spending north of $10 billion and taking far more than 10 years to build a highway that will only save a small handful of commuters mere seconds on their trip, according to the independent analysis done. We in fact drove right past Eatonville Public Library, which is where I got my first library card and first fell in love with reading. And so to be back here with Noel, with Lee, and with Julie, and with all of you for this particular announcement is really, really special to me. And it's special because, of course, we're standing just a few steps away from a public elementary school, a school where one of our special guests, Malcolm, this morning is a student. Malcolm's right over there. And we had a chance to chat about this. You know, you've all heard me say this repeatedly. I am a father, and that is my most important job. In fact, it's the most important job that I will ever have in my life. A dad, a proud dad to two young girls, Talia, who's in grade 9, and Grace, who's in grade 5. And they both attend publicly funded schools in our home community of Woodbridge. And so when I talk about publicly funded education, when I talk about how difficult the past 4 years have been, in particular the past 2 under the Ford Conservatives, it's not a key message for me. It's not a talking point. It's not an abstract conversation. It is literally what my wife and I and our daughters and millions of Ontario families have had to endure when they shouldn't have to. We see, and again, in this election campaign that will officially begin today, it is very clear that this is a campaign about choices. The kind of choice that's right in front of the people of Ontario, in particular on an issue like publicly funded education. And by the way, we saw the undermining and the underfunding of publicly funded education by Doug Ford and the Conservatives before the pandemic began. You know this. You know that when they decided to go to war with frontline education workers, when they decided to try to cut costs, when they decided to command from on high that there would be mandatory online courses, all of that and more was a clear indication that frankly Conservatives just cannot help themselves. That when they're given a chance, their first action, one of their first actions, is to go on the attack against publicly funded education. This is what we have seen from that party for so many years. And then the pandemic hit. The pandemic hit, and we learned that they weren't ready, that there wasn't a plan. This whipsaw effect back and forth of schools opening and closing, announcements made late on a Friday with no advance notice, kids who are isolated, who are trying to learn through a screen,